it's Miss Grant. I'm so glad to see you. I miss you guys so much. I'm stuck here in my house with my sixth grader and uh, two dogs and two cats. And Humphrey. Humphrey is here with me too. I'll have to bring him out in another video and show him to you guys. And my husband, and he's downstairs working too. So I am trying to do one chapter at 1 o'clock every day, and I'm trying to do two picture books at 2 o'clock. I'm way late. I had some technical difficulties just like everybody else does. So today I'm going to start with Finding Langston. It is part of the South Carolina Book Award nominee list for next year, 2000-2001. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that list because I hope to do some voting on these books next year. And this is Finding Langston. It's by Lesa Cline-Ransome, and I think you're really going to like it. It's a historical fiction book that takes place in 1945, and Langston is a young African-American boy living in Alabama. And his mom has passed away, and his dad hauls him up to Chicago, where he is very lonely and gets picked on because they call him country, and it's not a very pleasant situation. And Langston finds his happy place in the Chicago Public Library because in Alabama, he was not allowed to go in the library because of his race. And so he's finding some freedom in Chicago. Now, Chicago is very different than Alabama, and he's having to navigate those differences. And he also finds in the library the man that he was named after, Langston Hughes, who was a very influential poet and still is. So anyway, I'm going to get started on chapter 1. Okay, and I'm probably not going to read the whole thing because it's a little bit long, but I'll get you to the good spot. Okay, all right. Finding Langston by Lesa Cline-Ransome. I also need to say that Scholastic has allowed me to read this book. Because it's the first chapter, I think I can keep it posted, but if not, I will take it down after this event is over. You can also find this book on our website if you want to purchase the book. To just read it, you can find it on Overdrive. I checked, it's there. You can either read it as an ebook or you can listen to it as an audiobook. If you have a library card, you can also check it out through Overdrive from our public library system. I did not see it in another venue I looked for it, but you can find it in those areas. And of course, Amazon or any of those if you want to order the book. I bought this book for our library from the Scholastic Book Fair. And you can too when we get back to school if you are so inclined. Just want to put that out there. I feel kind of cheesy saying that, but anyway, this is Finding Langston. Let's get rolling. Okay, so I never really thought about Alabama's red dirt roads until now. And now all I can think about is kicking up their dust. I miss the hot sun on the back of my neck and how the racket of cicadas seemed like no sound at all. And at the end of the school day, before I had to get home and do my chores, I would take my time walking just as slow as I pleased without someone pushing past and cutting their eyes like I was a stray dog asking for some scraps. The school bell rings loud, and I remember I'm a long way from Alabama's dirt roads. Just give me just a little bit. From Alabama's dirt roads and the slow walking. I grab my satchel and make my way fast down the stairs, through the schoolyard, past block after block of cracking sidewalks of Chicago's South Side. I step quick past Binga State Bank, the Jackson Funeral Home, and Saul's Butcher Shop, with rows of bologna lined up in the windows like curtains. I wish it were home I was rushing to. Instead, I'm hurrying to get as far away as I can from Haynes Junior High School. I sidestep a group of loud-talking women outside the Lux Beauty Parlor and a tired old man with round shoulders. Just like Alabama, folks here are all shades of brown. So many they call this part of Chicago the Black Ghetto or the Black Belt. But of all the names this place is called, I love the name Bronzeville, a place filled with people, each one some color of bronze. Finally, I reach 4501 Wabash Avenue. At my building, I sit on the stoop and catch my breath. I have to climb the broke-down stairs, hallways smelling like 2-day-old garbage and fried onions. Waiting alone for Daddy in our kitchenette apartment. Landlord calls it an apartment, but it ain't nothing but a room tucked between and on top of other rooms. Nothing here belongs to us, just whoever pays the rent. 2 beds, 2 old rickety chairs, 1 table, the bureau missing a drawer, nothing. And the walls are covered by the last tenant with old newspapers to hide the holes. When we first moved in, I tried to read the headlines, but there's so many layers. All I could make out was a few words and pieces of dates. July 12th, November 7th, 1945. Didn't really matter because news from a year or two ain't really news at all. The room is so small, it feels like I'm being squeezed in from all sides. And Daddy ain't the best of company, but ain't nothing worse than being alone. Not used to coming home to an empty house, the smell of last night's dinner and Daddy's sweaty work clothes hanging in the air. Every day I open the door, it takes just a minute before I remember that Mama won't be getting supper started or hear her humming. His eyes are on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. Just a little longer to remember that I won't ever see Mama again. Her downstairs neighbor comes out. Her 2 kids are hanging tight to her. Looks like she's got one more on the way. The one in her arms is crying so loud, I got to cover my ears. Daddy says folks up in the north like to keep to themselves, so I guess that's why they never speak. I wouldn't know what to say if they did. Been here a month now, and we still only know one neighbor by name. Sometimes I wish we didn't. Miss Fulton comes up the steps struggling with her bags. Come help me, she says when she sees me sitting, looking like I'll be going inside after all. Her plump hands pass me a bag, and she lives on the top floor across from us. And only time she talks to me is when she's asking for my help. Well, really, telling me to help. Get over here, and I need you to. I don't think she even knows my name. In Alabama, I was raised on please and thank you. Ain't no way Miss Fulton's from Alabama. Daddy says she's a teacher in a high school across town. Bad as my classroom is, I'd hate to be in hers. She's just about my mama's age and just as pretty, but she's as wide as my mama was narrow. Her freckled light skin's nothing like my mama's smooth nut brown. Mean as my mama was kind. And she's missing mama's gap-toothed smile. Uppity, what folks back home would call her. And other words I ain't got no business saying. Following her up the stairs, I can barely see around her wide behind, swaying from one side to another. She puffs all the way up the 4 flights. Every once in a while, she stops to catch her breath. You okay, Miss Fulton? I asked, almost wishing she didn't make it to the top floor. Mm-hmm, she answers, grabs the rickety banister and keeps on going with me right behind her. Miss Fulton takes her sweet time getting her key out of her purse, like I ain't standing there with heavy groceries. Finally, she opens the door. I barely make it to the kitchen table. Careful with my things, she says. Yes, ma'am, I say, half dropping my bags. I look around, wishing our apartment were this neat. It's only one room with a small table pushed against a wall with a flowery oilcloth spread on it. It smells like lavender that grew along the edge of our road back home. A lace curtain hangs in the window and pictures of people with smiling faces and frames hang on above the table. Daddy keeps a picture in his wallet of him and Mama all dressed up, and he'll show it if I ask. And if he's in the mood for showing, that is, if he's in the mood for showing. The other corner of the room has her bed and a quilt, bright with patches of color, even with the big stove that sits in the middle, black and ugly with who knows how many years of other folks' grease and dirt cooked in. It still feels like home, like what I used to have. Good day, ma'am, I say, backing out the front door before she finds something else for me to do. Pull the key to our apartment out of my shoe and wriggle it in the lock. After I lost 2 because the hole's in my pants pocket, Daddy said I'd lose another and I wait outside till he gets home. The metal scrapes my foot all day long, but at least I'm not waiting outside. Back home, I never had a key. The door just stayed open. Back home, every day in Chicago makes it harder to remember Alabama, like a candle fighting to stay lit in the wind. But I do remember the porch and the front door with no lock and creaky rusted on hinges. And of course, I remember Mama pulling me in close and burying her nose in my hair as soon as I walked in the door. I pulled up a chair to the window and watched the goings-on downstairs. Bet there's more action on my street than Cab Calloway's show at the Regal Theater on Saturday night. Cartman rolls by with busted wagon, collecting trash and tossed out furniture. 2 soldiers stroll past, looking like they're on duty when everyone knows the war ended a year ago. Jackie and Shirley from school are turning ropes for the double dutch on the sidewalk. Here comes Sally, sitting in the alley, they sing to two girls in the middle, jumping fast. Shirley's ponytail bobs in time with the ropes hitting the sidewalk. Jackie looks bored with her head tilted to one side, eyeing boys passing by. Some people are moving in across the street. The mother wears a dress too thin for the weather, reties her head rag, and lifts her two young'uns out of the truck onto the sidewalk, while a tall, skinny man and a boy, just about my age, untie the chairs and pots and everything else they own from the back of the truck. The boy looks as scared as I did the day we moved to 4501 Wabash. Daddy comes walking tired and slow from the L train that rides the track above the city. He nods to folks as he passes. He's so tall, folks got to look up to see his face. Some nod back, some keep walking. I move the chair back and shut the window. By the time Daddy opens the door, my books are wide open and spread across the table. I take out my pencil and pretend I'm doing my schoolwork. Okay, that's chapter 1. Pretty good. I think you'll really like this book, Finding Langston. You can see it's already won a couple of awards. One's the Scott Odell Award for historical fiction, and this one is the Coretta Scott King Award that's given to books about African Americans. Give it a whirl. If you don't do it now while you're stuck at home, you can check it out from the library when we get back to school. I miss you guys. I hope that you will send me an email or a picture or post something on Facebook to let me know how you're doing. Connect with y'all like your teachers do on Google Meet and stuff. And I miss you guys. So y'all get your parents to shoot me a post. Oh, it makes me want to cry. I miss you guys. Y'all post something on Facebook for me, okay? I miss you guys. Bye. First stop. There it is.